Hello, everyone, and welcome to Totally Online Gaming Group's Blackest Heart campaign. This is going to be episode 7 of our ongoing persistent campaign. We're glad you could join us for anyone who is watching. Give a little bit of a recap of what happened in our last session. But before we do, just want to remind anyone who's been watching that this Saturday at noon I will be doing a live stream DM advice show starting at noon this Saturday, and it'll be called In the Beginning, and we'll be covering all manner of things from setting up your campaign initially, building your campaign world, encounter building, all sorts of stuff. And if you are watching and you're active in the chat, feel free to ask questions during that show, and I will do my best to answer all your questions to your heart's desire. Well, at least as much as I'm able. But hopefully that'll be a fun show for you guys to watch. So don't forget to tune into that. So to recap where we left off from last time, in the last episode, the group had arrived in Asteron, had gotten lodging for the night, and then began to start exploring the city the next day, where we had Rhea go off on a little shopping adventure, where she happened to meet quite an interesting shopkeeper named Mick. We also had Oak do a little exploring on his own, and meanwhile, Zoran kind of held down the fort in the inn that they were staying in, along with Father Dimspoon. And Dalian managed to spend quite a bit of time with Songbird, the owner of the inn and tavern, where much was discussed, including the fact that things were not quite what they seemed, and some stuff just couldn't be talked about at this time. Later on, most of the group met down in the tavern portion of the inn, where it was noticed that on a bulletin board that a couple people were looking at, there were some missing posters for children. In fact, 4 of them. A Bryce Odenshire, or a Missy Buttershire, a Thomas Genchrist, and a Teresa Thomason. They had a discussion, very briefly, and it seemed to be decided that Songbird would be going to investigate on his end some of the information and see if he could find out anything about what's going on with these missing children. Dalian has elected to go with him, leaving the group for the time being, and it seems that she's being rather clingy with this Songbird character. The rest of the group, now at the inn, with the exception of Rhea and Father Dimspoon, because Rhea managed to very deftly sneak the special stone that the players know, or the characters know as the Blackest Heart, out of Dalian's bag, and convinced the father to come along with her and get it to the church so that it could be properly dealt with. So she and the father are there, where he is taking the stone along with another member of the clergy to be kept safe. And Rhea is waiting patiently for that to happen. Oak, Zoran are both sitting at the inn, kind of trying to figure out what's going on at this point. And that is where we left off. So, without further ado, we will be starting The Blackest Heart. Alright, we are back, and it is time to begin our game. So, players, that's where your characters are, as described in the little recap. Oak and Zoran, you guys are currently at this inn/tavern that you only know as the Crow. Rhea, you are at the temple, okay, the High Temple of Palor, which you discovered was quite grand and seemed to have its own separate set of security uh, that was kind of above and beyond what you saw from city guards. And you are currently in the the main sanctuary of the temple. So, what do you guys want to do?
Hey Zoran, what do you want to do?
I don't know. What do you want to do?
I don't know, that's why I asked you.
Well, as a reminder for information that you guys have, right now you know that kind of one of the main things you were tasked with doing was getting the stone to the Temple of Palor. You are also information that you have, Zoran. You specifically would be remembering this information that Fen Ulcreen was last seen in Asteron. Oak would probably be interested in that a little bit too, but definitely Zoran, that's something you wouldn't forget, even with the long travel from West Shore to here.
I would go looking for that bastard.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go with you. He's got
Okay.
nothing better to do.
All right. In addition to that, some other information before you guys finalize your decisions. Uh, this is a major city. It is huge, and from what you guys have seen of it already, it is extremely diverse. I mean, there's pretty much all manner of individual walking around from every race, creed, religion that you have ever seen, uh, which is a little bit surprising because most of you probably haven't been in a situation with a city that is quite so mixed among the races. But it's also a little bit of a relief because your motley group of individuals does not stick out like a sore thumb. Some of the other information you would have is what has just been discovered before you is that there are missing children about. And while Songbird and Dalian had said that they were going to go investigate in one direction, the other direction is open to you. And I will let, if this is a direction you guys want to follow, I will let you choose which of the two pathways that you would like to go down, and Songbird and Dalian will follow the other. One is that 3 of the missing children were from the Merchant District, which if you look at the map, and I will bring up the area for you right here. Okay. If you look up the map, right in this area this is kind of part of the Merchant District, as well as outside here is also part of the Merchant District. And you guys are at this inn right there. That is the Crow Inn and Tavern. So that general region there is where the first 3 children went missing, and they were all from that region. The other child was to the northeast in another walled section of the city where the nobles live. And so those are those 2 possible options if you choose to investigate the missing children. Other than that, that's the information you guys have. The city is yours to choose what to do with and where to go. There are, shops aplenty. There are services that abound throughout, and it is still quite early in the day. Right now, it is basically right around noon. So you've got pretty much the whole day in front of you.
My first thought would be that Finn would be part of the reason for the missing kid, so I would still go try to track him down.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay. So, uh, for you two, where would you like to head? You also do know that Rhea and Father Dimspoon took off with the stone, and it's pretty obvious where they would have gone. Rhea, the last you know, that is that everyone else is back at the inn. If you choose to, go and grab Rhea or let her know by some means where you're going and what you're doing, that's up to you. Uh, Rhea, other than that, what are your plans at this point?
I would like to get rid of this stone,
Okay.
and then I remember a kid, the noble kid. I was wanting to go look into that.
Okay. So at the last episode, Father Dimspoon had gotten the stone, and it's inside a box and inside a spelled protective casing made out of a cloth with symbols of Palor on it. You had handed it over to him, and he and another clergy member that he seemed to know very well took it off into the back of the temple. And Father Dimspoon kind of looked over his shoulder at you and, gave you a nod. And you kind of heard the whispered words almost as if they were in your head. Because he's a decent distance away from you, so you don't know if he actually said it. But it sounds like it was almost in your head. And he says, I'll take it from here. You feel free. Go find your friends, explore. Um, I'll let you guys know what we find out.
Wait, do we get a reward for bringing the stone?
There's no response as he continues on walking.
I,
He's
I'm
a
gonna
good 60, 70 feet away from you, and
I'm gonna yell it as loud as I can.
okay. You see several parishioners that are in the pews. I mean, think of it almost kind of like a Catholic church. There's not currently mass going on, but there are our church patrons that'll come in and sit in the pews, pray, things like that. Some people going to like a confessional booth, and you see several of them kind of turn around and look back at this little halfling voice coming from near the back of the sanctuary, or the entry to the sanctuary, I should say. And they kind of look at you and give you a stern look. One even who's closer, an older woman who's hunched down, kind of turns to you and goes, "Shh." And Father Dimspoon and the other clergy member don't even turn around as they are walking through a door at the end of at the back of where the altar and the pulpit and everything is. They kind of went around the side of that a little bit, and they enter through a door back there and disappear.
Right before they disappear, can I yell out, "You better not forget that reward," and then walk away?
Sure, you do just that. And again, the older woman that's closer by goes shh at you, and then
I'm gonna
turns back to
shh
her
back
prayer.
at. I'm gonna shush them.
She gives you a really stern look and then turns back, and you can kind of hear her muttering, "Stupid kids," and goes back into her prayers.
Alright, I'm gonna try to find my way back to the inn so I can meet up with the other two.
Okay. So, you two, you're currently at the inn, and I'll say you can be wherever you want in the inn. You could be up in your rooms. You could be down in the tavern. It's entirely up to you. Kind of the last place you were at was in the tavern, but you could have moved from there.
I would start my search by asking the barkeep questions.
Okay. So you see the barkeep. He's standing on the other side of the bar, currently polishing a glass mug, almost just constantly polishing it. I mean, that thing can't be that wet. It's not like he's drying it, and Seems
Is
like
it
he's
the
been
same?
polishing. Yeah, it's the same mug. It seems like he's been polishing it for probably the last 5 minutes. And he's just standing there, kind of looking around. He's got a big old beard. Comes down, probably about the middle of his chest. Pretty bushy, and his hair going around. He's got this big bald spot right on the top. That you can kind of see he put a little effort into try to do a comb over, but it looks pretty bad. But he's just standing there.
The first thing I would ask is, what's up with that glass? Been cleaning the same one forever.
He looks at you and he goes, "Nervous habit."
Oak is looking very thoughtful for some reason.
I mean, no one's ordering any drinks right now, so I've done everything else I need to do. Not much to do right now, so I just waiting. Nothing to do. Got to keep busy in case the boss comes in. At least then he thinks I'm doing something.
I know how that goes. Well, anyway, I'm looking for this feller named Fen. Have you ever heard of a guy with that name?
Hmm. Man, man.
I forgot his last name, so.
You would remember it. It's Ulcreen.
Oh,
Ulcreen. Okay. Uh, he thinks for a little bit. Goes,
Before he can say anything, Oak snaps and points at him, and he's just like, I know who you remind me of. You remind me of my grandpa. Who's not really my grandpa, but you remind me of him. And then he goes quiet.
he smiles at you a little timidly as he's looking up at you because I don't know. Give me an insight check. Oh yeah, you can tell he's a little nervous looking at you because you are big and kind of beastly,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just like, all right, you can tell he's probably thinking in his mind, please don't break anything, including me.
And then
But
Oak will hurriedly say, don't worry, it's not a compliment. Like he's trying to make it better, but he's not.
you see, he looks confused for a second, and then he's like, kind of shakes his head, and he's like, turns his attention back to Zoran, and trying not to look at you, because he's a little, you can tell he's still a little nervous.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, honestly, not that I can remember. I don't know if I've ever heard that name before.
and then I would reply with, well, if you were trying to hide in this city, where would the first place you would go is?
Hide in the city? Um,
Yep.
yeah, pretty much anywhere.
Really? Because I'd go outside the city. It seems nicer out there.
Yeah, but it's real easy to blend in the crowd and slip away. And honestly, I mean, there's so much of the city. There's nooks and crannies everywhere. I mean, if you're looking for someone
I'm looking
that
for
would,
shady people. Where would the shady people go?
hmm, well, that I might be able to help you with. And he just looks at you.
Alright. I don't know where it is on the sheet, but I'll slide him a couple gold coins across the bar and be like,
Okay.
where are the shady people?
He picks up the gold coins, looks at them, smiles real big, just kind of slips them into a pouch, and says, "All right, I'll tell you what you want to do. If you're really wanting to find shady people, uh, go down to the docks. There's always stuff going on down at the docks. Ye I mean, I don't hang out down there much, but we get enough people that come into the tavern every once in a while that have dealings down there sometimes, and perfectly fine place during the day. But I wouldn't go there at night. And he kind of leans over close to you, and he whispers, "This one's on the house. Beware the path." He leans back.
Path. All right, that's what I wanted to know. And I'll turn around and say, Oak, you have any problems with the water?
Nope.
Off to the docks.
Kidoki.
Okay. As you are coming out of the crow, you almost bump straight into a 13-year-old halfling girl who looks very familiar. And Araya, are you currently there? No. Oh, she said, be
She
right back
burbed.
in the chat. She burbed. She burped. I'm gonna tell everyone online that Raya burped. Well, that's what I'm gonna call it from now on. But no, she'll be right back in a little bit. But you run into her, and when she gets back, I'm going to assume that she's probably going to want to go with you, or at least
Probably.
talk to you guys and figure out what your plans are. So you guys can start traveling down towards the waterfront. Which do you even know where it is? Is the big question.
Oak knows where water is, but he doesn't know how to get to it from the city.
Okay. So, something you might want to ask around for. In fact, it might be a good idea to see if there's any way to get a map, kind of like a little Disney World map of the city or something, so you can walk around and make sure to hit all the hot rides.
I will not approach, but turn around and say, hey, where do we get a map of this burg?
Bartender goes, ah, well, just when you exit, take a right. Follow the street until you hit the main thoroughfare. You'll see it because you'll be able to see the gates from there. You'll also see the inner gates. Go towards the inner gates. Go through them. Head down a little ways until you hit a street that on the corner of that street uh, you'll see a really really big inn. That one is you can kind of tell based on the lion on the emblem, the placard that they got out there, and it's big. It's like 4.5 stories or something like that. It's pretty tall. At there, take a right, go down a little ways, and you're pretty much in the heart of the merchant district. Guarantee you there's going to be some kind of map maker or something down there. I don't know one in particular, but there's lots of shops down there. So you go down there, ask around. I'm sure you'll be able to find one pretty easy.
I'll
Or you could
toss
just
him
ask someone where the docks are.
We could do that too. I toss him another gold coin on my way out the door.
Okay. He snatches it out of the air with one hand while still holding the mug in the other. Puts the coin in, pulls out his rag, and goes back to polishing. All right. So you guys heading towards that merchant district to
Yep.
get a map? Okay.
Going to the cartographer.
All right. As you're walking down now, and you guys have the map on your screen, but it is purposely not completely filled up with as many houses and streets as there really are. This kind of just gives you a basic idea that there is stuff there. When in reality, it is just completely slammed full of buildings and streets. So just because you don't see a street somewhere, there probably is a street or an alley or something there. Okay?
All right, I may have missed it, but
Mhm.
how big is the city, you know,
This
size-wise?
city has probably somewhere around, you're estimating, 50,000 from what you've heard.
Okay.
And they're pretty crammed together.
Okay.
So, excuse me. So as you are going through, following the directions, okay. So you're following the directions, and you're coming down the street after coming out of the Crow, and you eventually get to that main thoroughfare, and you see the street splits to your right and your left, and this is clearly the main thoroughfare, as it is uh, what you originally came in on, and you see it is a very wide street. And it looks like Rhea is back. Perfect. Rhea, just as Oak and Zoran are coming out of the Crow in Tavern, they practically bump into you as you were coming back from the church.
Oh, hey! I was looking for you two.
We're not hiding.
Well, well, I know, but like, it's a city. I didn't know if you'd still be at the inn or not.
Well, I'm glad you found us.
So what are you two doing?
We're gonna go find this Fen Ulcreen guy.
Who?
I think he's some dude that Thorin knows. I know him apparently, but not really.
Let's just say he's one that will wish he had never met me when the time comes.
Oh, revenge.
That's
Okay, I'm
very
down.
Just like that. Oh, I'm down.
Oh, I'm always down for a good revenge.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Oak.
Yeah.
When she says revenge, Oak kind of goes, I'm not sure if I like the idea of revenge.
Well, think of it this way. If someone did something bad to you, wouldn't
That
it
had
feel
happened
good
before.
to get justice?
I'm not trying to kill him just yet. I need
Oh, okay.
to get
Okay,
information
then we're good.
first. I need information
There's
first.
lots of ways to get revenge without killing a person.
Well, it was kind of ambiguous the way Zoran
Well,
said
I mean, there's
what they
like
were gonna do.
there's
So
stealing, amputation, lots of things.
Almost lighting their
Eventually, I'm
inn
gonna
on
kill him.
fire.
Exactly. Lighting their house on fire, just whatever
See,
comes to mind.
I need information before I do any of that, because they're less
stealing the
likely to talk.
firstborn child.
All right,
That's a little harder.
you were saying there, Zoran. I heard you say
I
information.
said I need information before I do anything, because he's less likely to talk when I'm done with him.
What kind of information do you need? I'm pretty smart.
I don't think your little mind can comprehend what I'm after.
Well, what are you after?
Information.
What kind of information?
Exactly.
I'm intentionally trying to be vague as to not give away my secret.
Okay.
I know this, but Rhea just is inquiring.
And Oka got curious because you were being ambiguous and
Exactly. Now I'm
dodging the
curious.
question. You need
All
some
right.
curious little puppy.
Let's just say he's wronged me in a great way, and I need to fix it.
Okay, I'm down. Let's do it.
Sure.
All right. So, Zoran and Oak had been heading towards the merchant district to try to pick up a map of the city when when you bumped into them. Is that still what you guys would like to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can Oak take a really deep breath to see if he smells salt water? To see if
Sure.
he's settled?
Sure. Give me a perception check.
No.
No, not really. There's a lot of smells here in the city.
Yeah.
Um, some definitely not so pleasant. So yeah, you really can't pick up salt water. You know you're somewhere nearby, but no idea.
Okay, that makes sense. Define the map.
All right. So once you guys get to that main thoroughfare that runs through the city, you see to your left, a little ways away, was the main gate that you guys came through initially when you entered the city. And to your right, not too terribly far away, maybe a good 400 or 500 feet away, is another gate leading further into the city. And that gate also is attached to a wall that is going around another portion of the city.
Yay, more walls.
Oak's favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So, following the instructions, you turn right towards that gate and get there, and it is currently wide open. And there seems to be only a couple guards at the gate. And if you look up, you see, like, every once in a while, one kind of patrolling around the top of the wall. But other than that, it doesn't seem heavily manned. Going through it, you continue on, and eventually, off in the distance, you're probably walking for a good half an hour. You end up seeing a fairly large intersection, and on one corner is this really tall, almost 5-story building with a big placard out front with a kind of a lion that's kind of up in the air like it's about to pounce or claw at something. And the streets head off, to the left and to the right. And it also continues on. And again, remembering your directions, you say, oh, he said turn right here. So you turn right at that large building. And within, a minute of walking from that intersection, you realize that you are absolutely surrounded by tons and tons of people filling the streets, going in and out of buildings on left side, right side. There are even little carts in the street, some selling fruits, some selling, like cooked meats, things like that. Others selling little trinkets here and there. And there are plenty of actual stores lining the streets that have their doors wide open, windows nice and open, light coming in, and you can see a whole bunch of different types of shops. Oak, even with the, not so great smells every once in a while through the city, you're actually picking up some decent ones here, smelling like fresh baked bread from a bakery nearby. Some of the, some of the cooked and cured meat smells, things like that. There's kind of a mix of really good smells from around here with some not so good. But it's very colorful, seems very lively, and there are a ton of people just moving everywhere. In fact, it looks like it's a little bit crowded, and you might have to kind of weave your way in and out between people, and maybe even kind of push between some groups and things like that just to get by there. Kind of like a day at a theme park.
As soon as Oak realizes there's such a big crowd, he immediately picks up Rhea and puts her
No,
on her
no,
shoulder.
don't do that.
Why?
Don't do that.
Would you rather Oak carry Rhea like a sack of flour?
No, just leave me be. It'll be fine.
Well, This is for Oak's comfort and hers. Because one, he does not like big crowds, and he's kind of nervous right now, so he would like to have a friend nearby.
Alright, I'm just gonna whisper to Oak, hey, I gotta do some work. You can stand by Zorn. I'll meet up with you soon.
Okay.
I'm gonna go pickpocket people.
And then Oak sticks to Zoran like glue.
I'm gonna look for like super easy targets, just weave in and out, being a halfling.
Okay. All right. So we'll deal with that in a second.
Okay.
Oak and Zoran, if both of you could give me perception checks since you're trying to find a map maker. There you go. Yeah, both of you pretty easily looking up at some of the signs and stuff. You see a sign which, correct me if I'm wrong, Oak, but can Oak read?
Barely.
Okay.
He knows some letters.
Yes. Zoran, you see a sign just a little ways down on your left that clearly says cartographer in common. And there's even a little picture that looks kind of like a scroll almost with some squiggly lines on it and, shapes. Oak, you get cart maker, maybe? You're not sure. You're not exactly sure. But you see this little scroll thing and it kind of looks like a map.
Yay.
I'll head that direction.
Okay.
Kind of like walking and not caring if I run into people, knocking them out of my way, just kind of, moving like I got a purpose.
Oak is like right behind Zoran, trying to make himself smaller.
Okay.
Like he's really scared of all the people.
Oak being smaller.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I steal from the people that Zorn bumps into because they're gonna be distracted? I know, perfect target.
Like you said, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Okay. So as you're moving through the crowd, and you're heading towards. Okay, I see what you said there, Raph. You're heading towards the this cartographer shop. You're almost there, and Rhea, I need you to go ahead and roll me a sleight of hand check. Okay. And I need from...
Only I had advantage.
And I need from both Oak and Zoran, I need you to roll me perception checks.
Oh god. What have I done?
Oak is too scared to notice anything.
Alright, hold on 1 second.
He was able to read half a word, then his brain turned off.
Overheating?
Probably.
I get the sensation that it's kind of grog with the
Yeah.
reading.
Kinda. He knows a few letters, and just enough to spell his name, but he doesn't know the rest of them.
Okay. So, Oak, you don't notice anything, but Zoran, you notice two things. One, Rhea, her little hand darts out towards the pocket of some unsuspecting individual walking near you, going past, slips in there, and seems to grab something. You also notice a little hand from the other side of you reach into your pocket.
Can I grab the hand that's in my pocket?
Go ahead and give me a, let's say
We're
a
being
straight,
stolen from
a,
as I'm stealing.
actually let's call it an unarmed strike.
An unarmed strike.
Yeah, so go ahead and roll your unarmed strike. Okay. You reach out to try to snatch that hand, and it just slips out of your grasp, and its owner ducks into the crowd. Rhea, as you are,
Mm-hmm.
get your hand in someone's pocket or pouch or whatever you're grabbing for. You're pretty confident that you've got something, and you're starting to pull it back, and then all of a sudden you hear a couple people from behind you guys, probably about 10, 15 feet, and someone from the front. All of them are pointing in your guys' general direction, not necessarily straight at you, Rhea, but in your guys' general direction, and say, "Hey, watch out, a thief!" And it seems to be that there's, three different people making similar statements towards your guys' direction.
Can I look around and see if I see anyone running and behaving like a thief, or if it's clearly pointed at me?
Make a perception check.
Oak starts to pat his pockets because she's worried. Oh no, something might have gotten stolen, but he doesn't know what.
Rhea, one person is clearly pointing at you.
Ah, shit.
The other two, you're not quite sure if they're pointing at you. They're pointing in a direction, in general. And Oak, roll me a perception check to see if you notice if you've lost anything. No, everything seems to be there in your pockets. You don't notice anything
Watch all the
missing.
money be gone.
Excuse me. You don't notice anything missing.
Can I try to dart in and out of the crowd to blend in and, while doing that, take off my very obvious hat and stuff?
Sure. I will say, roll a stealth check.
5!
Okay. So you attempt to take off. The person that was pointing directly at you, they're like, "Look, there she goes! There she goes!" and pointing that way. And the other two people kind of look in that direction, but then look back and go, "But the other way! There's more of them!"
Uh-oh.
I need another perception check from you, Zoran.
Uh-oh.
Gosh. Can't believe we got stolen from as I was stealing from someone.
You notice the one that reached into your pocket, the owner of that hand, seeming to be a small individual, is darting off in the opposite direction that Rhea took off to.
Can I give pursuit to the one that stole from me?
Absolutely.
Oak doesn't know what to do. He crouches on the ground and starts to cry. He's overwhelmed. He's having a panic attack.
Okay. As you're doing that, one of the three people, one of the two that was pointing at the in the other direction than Rhea, saying that there's another one, is they've been kind of getting closer to you guys, and they're running up, going, "There's a thief! There's a thief!" And it's kind of making a little bit of a commotion. And one of them gets up close enough to you, kind of looks at you, just kind of crouching there, and goes, "Hey, you're kind of big. Maybe you should get that thief." You can probably run faster than I can.
He's super overwhelmed. It's like a sensory overload for him. So he's just overwhelmed, and he just kind of just crouches and puts his hands on his ears, and he's just like, ah.
Guy goes,
I want to go outside in the forest.
kind of goes, or not. And he tries to head in the general direction that Zoran that you took off in after the thief took something from you. And he goes for about another 20 feet past Oak, and then he's just looking around the crowd and he's like, no clue. Where'd they go? Zoran, you are hot on the tail of this thief, and I need you to roll one more perception check as he attempts to duck into the crowd and weave in and out trying to hide from you. All right. Okay. So as you're following him, you are very fast. You know, nice, big, tall, normal size, person with nice, big adult legs against whatever the shorter individual was, and you know you were catching up, but all of a sudden you're looking right at him, and just as I kind of turn the corner of around a cart for a second, when you come around the corner of that cart, wait, where the heck did they go? You're not exactly sure.
Can I look around and see if there's any trap doors, secret doors into the neighboring buildings or anything like that?
Sure, I'll let you do that. That would be an investigation
Alright.
because you're physically searching for something here.
Yeah, because I figure if they're a thief, they know the hiding places.
Mm-hmm. You're not seeing much. I mean, there's so many people around, and there's stuff lying around. There's carts. There's you know, wares, crates with wares in them that people are selling. You're just not sure if there's any little hideaways or cubby holes or passageways anywhere. You can't quite tell.
Alright. I'd get frustrated, punch the wall, and then give up the chase because I lost him and head back to Oak.
Okay.
Who's still crying?
Yep.
Can I
Oh,
while try
I'm
to
coming back to you, Rhea.
yeah, I have plans.
Mm-hmm. You are running,
Yeah.
and trying to dodge pursuit as a
Well,
natural instinct. Kind of look over your shoulder for a second to see if they're still on your tail,
hmm
and you see the guy that had been pointing directly at you, who looks like a maybe somewhat elven features, maybe a half elf. You're not sure.
elves. Hate elves.
And well, right now he's not too thrilled with you. You're a thief in the city, and he is catching up pretty quick. He's closing
All
the
right.
distance on you.
I would like to cast minor illusion to first have like as far away from me as possible, so 30 feet, to create a very loud lion roar in order to create some sort of panic, and then immediately after the lion's roar, create sound of a crowd of people saying, "Oh no, it's a lion! A lion has escaped!" As I continue to try and get lost in the crowd.
Okay. All right then. So you cast your spell.
hmm
Very interesting use of the spell, by the way. I quite like that. And 30 feet away from you, all of a sudden you hear this immense roar sound. And
Sorry, Yoke.
the guy behind you Let me just double check and see what he does when he hears this.
I figure a lion is more important than a thief, so hopefully it changes their attention for a little bit.
If Oak hears this roar, he's gonna get up and immediately be like, "Oh, get him!"
A friend!
Oh yeah, this guy hears this roar and like stops in his tracks and looks in the direction of the roar, as do pretty much everyone that is in that vicinity. And then they hear, as you so eloquently put it, after that, let me see, double check. All right, yep, just making sure you could switch sounds. That sounds good to me.
I have this spell up right now.
Yeah, I
Make
just want to make it sure, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. But yeah, it turns to, oh no, it's a lion. Oh, there's a lion on the loose. Oh! Okay. And several people who are further away from the noise start to run and panic. You have people running down the streets. Now, those that are closer to where you place the noise are kind of standing there confused because they're looking right at basically empty space. You kind of put it right near this crate in the middle of nowhere. That's definitely not big enough for a lion. And they're looking at it. There's nothing there, but there's this sound emanating from it of people screaming, "There's a lion! There's a lion!"
Did Oak hear the roar?
Yes, absolutely. It was loud enough.
He goes straight towards it. His eyes are nice and bright and happy, and he goes, "Kitty!" And he immediately goes to look for the kitty.
All right. As you do that, you kind of have to push your way through some people that are just kind of standing there and just kind of scratching their heads for a moment, and you eventually get through, and there's just like a small crate sitting there, and there's these yells and screams emanating from this crate.
Because
as if there was like 5 or 6 people in there.
Because Oak has just had a panic attack. He's extra stupid right now. So he immediately thinks, "Oh no, people are trapped in the crate." And he goes to open it up.
All right. Go ahead and give me a straight strength check. So just 1d20 plus your strength modifier. All right. While that is happening, people are starting to almost make a stampede about 50 feet away from the source of the noise, because they were not close enough to see that there's nothing there. And they just heard this lion and, "Oh no, run, run, run." It is starting to get chaotic. Okay? Oak, you kind of dig your claws into the top lid of the crate and start trying to pull, but man, you got to get credit to the blacksmith who made the nails for this, because they made some dang good nails. It's just that lid isn't coming off just yet.
Well, then if he can't get it off, he's just gonna just be like, "No, I can't save these people," and he just like collapses on top of the crate, and he's so sad again, and he starts to cry.
Okay, when you collapse on top of the crate, your weight actually, you hit it on the corner, and that side of the crate was weak at the bottom. So as you hit it at the corner, its integrity is lost, and it kind of splits open, and you hear as it kind of falls apart and you fall through it, or fall on top of it, and it kind of squishes down. The sound of breaking glass like sounds as a bunch of ceramic jars just get smashed open.
Can Rhea see this happen?
No, you have been running away.
Okay.
And you did manage to get some distance on your on the tail that was on you, because, well, they got confused by what was going on and were a little shocked. However, some people are starting now to, that were close by and were kind of in shock for a moment, are starting to figure out that, wait a minute, this isn't real. And you actually, Oak, you would see it, and Zoran, you would be able to see, because you're close enough, a figure who is dressed in what looks like some very, very fine chainmail,
Oh, shit.
wearing the colors that are on the banners around the city walls. And he has a symbol on his shoulder that looks kind of like a diamond that has a sword going through it from top to bottom. Okay. He also has a whole bunch of other little things attached to the armor up on his upper left breast. And he's got a sword at his hip, a shield on his arm, and he comes up and he stands up and says, "Everybody stop! There is no lion! Stop now!" And he pulls his sword and he points. Oh, and he kind of is looking over the crowd, and he's pointing in one direction and says, "Secure that quarter! You, Lieutenant, secure that quarter there!
Meanwhile,
Stop the madness now!"
can Oak be crying over the broken ceramic stuff because he's afraid that he broke the people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Zoran, you see, Oak kind of crying, hunched down by a broken, wooden box, basically, with several shards of what looks like pretty well painted, like, nice decoration, ceramic shards, kind of spilling out from it, just falling. And then you see this man, seeming to be kind of direct traffic. And Rhea, you pretty much have lost yourself in the crowd, effectively. But
Okay.
a good another 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute goes by, and finally, it seems like this man, whoever he was, and his shouting, have kind of calmed the chaos a little bit. And all of you, well, maybe not Oak, since you're falling in the ceramic bowls right now. Notice that there are a couple guards coming up, approaching the man, talking to him, and then going away. And a few other guards come up and start walking with him. And they seem to be kind of directing everything a little bit and keeping the order in the area. And then eventually people kind of are just slowly going back to the normal hustle and bustle that was here. But Zoran, why don't you go ahead and give me another perception check?
Okay.
Excuse me. Oh. Pardon me. Yeah, I think I've been fighting something off here lately. All right. Okay. You're not quite sure, but there seems to be a small commotion kind of going over about a good 20 feet away from you, kind of up against a building that seems to be a couple of the guards over there, and you can't quite tell for sure, but appears to be a couple people kind of sitting or lying on the ground in that area, and a couple guards kneeling down near them, stuff like that. Rhea, go ahead and give me a perception because you are actually very close to that location. And even if you weren't, you would have noticed. You see several people who seem to have, some pretty bad scrapes and bruises, and one has a pretty nasty head wound, and you can actually see, some like dirty footprints on some of these people. It's pretty clear that during the commotion, some people got knocked down and almost trampled to death. Because a few of them are not in good shape, and
I
there are several over there that are injured. It seems like the guards have kind of like collected the injured people together and are trying their best to tend to them.
Can I try to like change my appearance like the best I can so I'm not recognized, and then start running back to Oak crying?
Okay, how are you planning on changing your appearance?
Well, I would have already taken my hat off. I probably would throw my like hair into a ponytail. I would probably like change which arm my bag is on, that kind of stuff.
Okay, for that, I'm gonna say, why don't you go ahead? Are you proficient with like disguise kits or anything like that?
Um,
See if
nope,
no. Okay,
no.
so I'm gonna have you do just I'm gonna call it a charisma roll because it's
Okay.
kind of like a performance, I'll say. So just a straight charisma roll, not charisma save, but charisma roll. So 1d20 plus your charisma modifier. Okay, all right. You feel like you've done a pretty good job, and you're kind of trying to carry yourself a little bit differently too. Maybe just a little bit different way to make your steps. Maybe you're sauntering a bit. Who knows? But uh, you seem like you've got this covered.
All right, I go crying to Oak.
Okay. So now there are two crying people over by this broken box of ceramics. And
I'm
Zoran,
very upset about these broken bowls.
you are pretty much right near them at this point. As you had been heading back towards where everything was going on.
I'll just walk up to him and shake my head and be like, I'm dealing with children here.
There was a lion.
I
There
crushed
was
all
no
these
lion.
people. Oak's brain turned off the second he read cart.
All right. So, this is where you're currently at right now. What would you like to do at this point? Seems like everyone else is kind of going about their business again.
Do the guards seem to be like looking for anyone?
At this point, no. You don't notice anything. You don't see anything that looks like a search. You do see several guards are kind of posted up in areas, but most of them, including what you can only assume would be some kind of higher ranking guard, the man with the very fine chainmail and stuff, are over by the injured people and checking on them and trying to do what they can for them.
Alright, I'm gonna whisper to Oak. Don't worry, you didn't crush any people. It was an illusion I made. So you good.
And he just lets out this big sigh. He's like, oh.
And then I'm gonna be like, we should probably go get that map now.
Yeah, let's go get that map.
And then I start walking towards where they were walking towards before.
Okay. So you guys
Oak
head
follows.
to the cartographers then. All right. So you weren't very far from it at this point. It's pretty much across the street from where you're at now. So you just walk across through the rest of the crowd, and you get to the shop. The door is wide open, and as you walk in, you are seeing shelves upon shelves of these rolled up parchments that are all tied neatly with like a little kind of a leather thong tie, and they're just everywhere, just rows and rows of these shelves filling the shop. There's not a lot of walkway for it.
Does the shop smell like paper?
Absolutely does.
Oh, good.
Smells like
I would
paper.
be happy.
Yeah, smells like paper. Smells a little bit like leather as well, and ink. And as you walk in, you see sitting at a counter, a little bit kind of makes an L shape off to the right a little bit as it then goes to a door behind the counter that leads to the back somewhere. You see a human, but he's pretty old and relatively short for a human. And he's just sitting there, got some parchment on his counter, and he seems to be dipping in a quill pen into some ink, and everyone's just touching here and there on that parchment, making little lines or little dots and changing little things. He seems to be pretty focused.
Oak goes over as quietly as he can as to not disturb the mapmaker dude, and he just like looks over his shoulder to see the process of the drawing and stuff.
Okay.
Map making.
Is there any other people in the store right now?
None, doesn't look like any customers, and doesn't seem to be anybody else that you can see.
Alright, I'm gonna nonchalant take a look at what I took out of that person's pocket.
Okay. You've got a small little like coin purse. You know, just a little a sack that would have been tied to someone's belt. You basically just loosened it and popped it off. You open it up, and you see in there an absolute treasure trove. There's got to be like 30 coins in there. That's like 30 copper coins in there.
No, it's a fair amount.
And that's what you see in there, nothing else.
Okay. That's what, 3 silver?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not too bad.
Well, that's more than some people in this world get paid in a day.
Exactly.
I mean, if
good, hard-earned money right there.
So about you, Zorn, what are you doing?
I am gonna walk up to the map maker dude and be like, "Hey, got any maps of the city?"
Okay, finishes a line real quick, puts his feather quill in the ink jar, and looks up.
Ah, yes! Can I help you? Map of the city, you say?
That is what I said.
Yes, let me see.
And he kind of gets up. You can almost audibly hear joints popping as this guy moves from his position. He gets up, grabs a cane next to him, and he starts kind of hobbling around the L-shaped counter, comes out and looks at you and says,
"Follow me! This way!"
and walks right over to one of the walls where, again, lined with these just shelves full of these like rolled up parchment. And he looks through and he says,
"Okay, let's see. The city, you say? Which district?
All of them.
Topographic? Population density? Do you want, by our, you know, mix of races, so to speak, demographics? What would you like?
A basic street map so I know where things are.
A street map. Yes.
He goes up, walks up to the shelves. Okay. Looks up, looks on one level that's about his eye level. Pulls out a scroll, looks at it.
No!
Throws it over his shoulder. Pulls another.
No, not that one.
As,
While
Go
he's
read-
looking,
yes.
can I ask for the race mix map as well?
So you want demographic map, okay?
For races, yeah.
Yes. So he goes.
Yes, I'll be right with you. Wait 1 second.
He reaches up a little higher to another level, pulls out,
No!
throws out one. Then looks up a little higher.
Crap.
Do you
You're
need
there!
help?
You there!
Points at Oak.
Oak looks at him and he's just like, okay. And he goes over.
He takes his cane and kind of
Points it up and says, see that? There?
Oak just picks up the tiny dude and just like Lion King.
He's like, what the? Okay.
pulls it out,
No!
throws it, grabs another one.
Here we go. Put me down.
Oak sets him down.
He kind of settles down and he kind of stumbles a little bit when you put him down. And he turns to Zorn and he says,
This is what you want. Here you go. Let's see. Map of the city. This way.
and he starts walking over towards the counter. Goes around the L-shaped counter, sits back down.
And he says, okay. Street map. Current, obviously. It should be. That's about 3 silver.
Alright. I'll give him 4 silver.
Okay, you reach for your money pouch. It is not there.
Oh no.
And I'd just be like, that rat bastard.
How much did you lose?
About 150.
Oh gosh.
Oak will reach for his money pouch.
Okay, you find it.
Oh, yes! Yes! Oh my god! Thank god! We have like 300 gold in that pouch.
Whew.
And he'll pull out the silver and he's just like, he looks at Zora and he's just like, okay, how much is 3?
I'll count it out for her.
Okay.
Or him.
All right, so he takes the silver.
Thank you very much. All right. There you go. Oh, yes. You wanted a demographic map for the races. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
He gets up again, and it's like the exact same process. He goes around, he pulling out maps, and he's just throwing them until he eventually finds the one he's looking for.
Does he need Oak to hold them up again?
No, this one unfortunately is on the bottom shelf, and it takes him. He's like reaching down until I would assume eventually Rhea, being right down at that level almost, probably just grabs the one he's pointing at, and he finally is like,
Yep. Here it is.
and same thing, and he says,
That'll be 3 silver.
Alright, I'll pay him 3 silver.
he takes it. Is it?
Anything else I can do for you?
Oak his eyes are gonna light up like he just thought of a brilliant idea, and he's gonna be like, "Do you know of a tailor's shop nearby?"
Yes. With wikis.
Okay.
Just down the street. Can't miss it. Fake needle, spool of thread, right on the sign. Easy enough.
Yay, thank you. I'll be able to read that sign.
Can I open up the map and see if I can read it?
Sure. You open it up. What languages do you read?
Like, common, draconic, and halfling.
Okay. Well, you are in luck because this one is in common. He happened to get that one for you.
Well, I was just making sure, like, I could understand the map.
Yeah, you figure
Okay.
it's you when you look at the map, you can see it's got a fairly detailed. I mean, for a medieval map, this guy's pretty good at his craft, and I mean, he better be as old as he is because he's probably been doing it for like 50 years. Probably not going to be around much longer by the looks of him and his age, but I mean, he's got this beautiful like color coded key that he's obviously used colored inks on and everything, and it's listing out the different races and all that, and he's got kind of dots of different colors in different areas, and you can see that the city itself is pretty diverse. There's a good mix of the races, but there do seem to be some areas where one race is more prevalent in that area than anything else. For example, it seems to be that down by the docks, that a lot of orcs and half orcs seem to kind of dominate that area compared to the rest of the races. But there is plenty of others mixed in. But it's like kind of an area that has a lot of them.
Okay.
You see
Specifically elves. They're the only ones I really care about. Elves and half-elves.
Elves and half-elves. Well, it looks like most of them seem to be on the opposite side of the main thoroughfare from the market district, which, if you look on your map that's on the screen, market district, I'm going to do this just so it makes it easier. Market district is, come on, play nice already. Is both inside this wall and outside in this nice big purple circle. Okay.
Cool.
So, and that's pretty much you're pretty much right in there right now, in that market district area. Okay. The elves, half elves, it's not this big of a circle, but it doesn't take up this entire area over here, which you'll see in a second when it updates. There we go. Doesn't take up that entire area.
There.
But that's mostly elves and half elves. But you can see the color that has been used for elves and the color for half elves. They are
take a look at them
everywhere.
Oak goes over to Rhea and he's like, so what kind of races are there on there? Like, are there shifters and stuff on there?
Well, what do you say, Ray?
I'm just gonna like.
Ray, no go here.
Yeah, Rhea, no go here. Are there?
Yes, actually, there is. I mean, that key is quite extensive. There are races on there you wouldn't have expected, and you do see one. He uses kind of a variety of colors, but he also uses symbols, and one of them is this brown square that has a squiggly line coming off of one side, and with that one he has the word miscellaneous, and then in parentheses he has shifters, dragonborn, where touched, etc. And when you look around the map, there are very few of those dots, but they do exist.
I'll point this out to
There doesn't seem to be any large area that is covered with that symbol.
Cool, let's never go to those places either. I don't want to see someone I know.
Yeah, it doesn't really mean that it doesn't really mean that that person is permanently there. They can
Yeah,
travel the city,
but
but that's based on the census that has been taken. This is
for Oak,
where they
it
live.
means oh hey, there's a shifter there. He might know that shifter. Let's not go there.
Okay. Now, the map that you have, Zoran, if you open it up, it is again in common, thankfully, as the old man was smart enough to realize, since you were speaking to common to him, that I should probably give you maps in common. And as you open it up, it's a very nice, very detailed roadmap of the city. Uh, most of the cities are named, or most of the streets are named, but when you were outside, there was really no like actual street signs. It's just the streets have names, and people know what the name of the street is. So when someone says, "Hey, do where are you headed?" "Oh, I'm gonna head down, uh, left Havishire Street, or whatever." They they just know that street, so they know where it is. But that's kind of how the map is. So you can pretty easily figure out what routes you need to take to get to anywhere in the city. So you have your map now.
All right, where to?
Well, we gotta go to the tailor shop first, because I want to go check something out.
Okay.
Onwards!
Zord?
And Oak just
I'll follow the other two.
I do need some good disguise clothes. For when I have to run through a crowd.
that makes sense.
Okay, so as you step back out, you do notice over your shoulder that the old man, the cartographer, has come back around the counter and is now kind of futzing with his cane to knock some of the scrolls that he just threw haphazardly over into a corner.
Can
And
I
hold on,
cast Gust and help him out?
hold on, just wait.
Okay.
As he's doing that, he turns back around, starts walking around the corner, and you can hear him say some words that you're not quite sure of. Rhea, you might understand them.
Wait,
Give me an
what?
Arcana check.
Oh, okay. I'm not
Oh,
very intelligent.
yeah.
Well, never
Well,
mind.
apparently your D20 is pretty intelligent, uh, because he is clearly casting a spell,
Oh, cool.
and all of a sudden, from right over the pile, you see what looked to be a little kitty cat sitting there. All of a sudden, transforms into a humanoid, picks up the scrolls, and begins putting them away. And then, after it puts the last one away, the cartographer says, "Dismissed!" And you realize that that was the kind of the cancellation word for the spell.
Hmm.
And this humanoid creature, okay, which looked more like almost like an automaton than a person, all of a sudden just shrinks back into this little kitty cat, who then kind of goes over towards that little corner where there was a little box, and it just crawls into the box and just kind of curls up.
Do I know what spell this was?
You know it's a pretty powerful spell, but
Oh,
you're not sure exactly which one it was. You this is something beyond what you're experienced with. That's as much as you can tell. But you know that whatever can take the shape of one thing and just almost as a whim turn it into something else, and then let it go back. That's not easy.
Can I? No, Oak wants to go to Taylor. I'll begrudgingly follow Oak to Taylor.
Okay. So you guys head off to the tailor shop, which is just down a little ways, and you see it again, just on the sign. Big old looks like a sewing needle going through a big spool of thread.
Oak gets really excited.
Okay.
And he goes inside.
All right.
And he's like a little kid in a candy shop. He's bouncing up and down. He's really excited. He's got those anime sparkle eyes.
Hmm.
He's just super happy. Total 180 from earlier.
Okay. And when you walk in there, you see there are some racks that have different fabrics of different types draped over them. Along one wall, there is actually uh, some stands that have dresses hanging upon them, and even a couple uh, rudimentary mannequins that are wearing some of these dresses and things. There's also on the other wall, there looks to be some other sewn items like capes, cloaks, hats, even like hand sewn handbags. Some hand sewn out of leather, some out of cloths. I mean, it's a variety. It's a pretty decent sized shop, and it's got quite a selection of things in here. And you can hear what sounds like coming from the back, uh, the sounds of some kind of sewing machine. It's not something you're familiar with, but you see way in the back this contraption where a little halfling is sitting at a stool, and she has this big kind of wooden paddle under her feet, and she's like making it go back and forth, tilting on something, and it's causing this weird strap that's going around a wheel, around a circular thing to rotate something, and you see this little looks like a little sewing needle, and it's going up and down and up and down, and it's making this noise as she moves her feet, and she's feeding cloth through it, and it seems to be putting it together. It's kind of interesting.
If anything, Oak's eyes get wider and sparklier. Just
Yeah.
totally enamored by everything. And he goes up, he says, "Hi."
And the noise stops, and the halfling woman turns to you and says, "Oh, hello there. How can I help you?"
um, I need a sewing kit. Mine recently ran out.
Oh, yes, yes, I can help you with that. Um, uh, hold on, 1 second. Bryn! Bryn!
And out of the back comes another female, younger, closer to Rhea's age, uh, but still a little older. Comes out from the back, and she's like,
Yes, mommy? Could you help this woman with this man with a sewing kit, please? And she says, Of course, mommy. And she's like, Follow me.
kind of waves you
He
to follow.
follows.
Yep. And she's scuttling off to one side of the store, and she directs you to some shelves over there, and says, points out, and there's several different kinds of little sewing kits there.
Yeah. Um, what kind of fabric are you looking at doing?
Um, well, what kind of fabric is my shirt?
Kind
Eh, eh.
And he leans down.
of grabs it, looks at it.
That's, well, it's kind of a hip.
Okay. Well, I've been fixing this up for like 9 years. It's kind of got a sentimental value now.
Uh, Mom? Hemp? Uh, use the all-purpose. Right, okay.
She turns around. She grabs this kit for you, opens it up, and there's some pretty nice looking, decently crafted metal needles in there. There also is several spools of different materials. You're seeing like a thread of some kind, might be from wool. Uh, you're seeing something that you're not exactly sure, but maybe some kind of it would be in player speak cotton threads.
Yeah.
Silk, a small one of some silk, and then you also see some strips of leather and thongs and different things, and as well as buttons and a couple other things in there, including thimbles and some actual shears, a couple different kinds, various things in there. And she's like,
This'll do for pretty much anything in general.
Perfect. Thank you. And he
Okay.
takes it.
Alright, that'll be 15 gold.
Hey Zoran, how much is 15?
I'd go over there and count it out for her.
okay, and you pay her,
And she's like, anything else?
That's about it. Thank you.
Okay.
Can
Mom, here!
I be looking at the dresses and see if I can find the fanciest one that would fit Rhea?
the fanciest one that would fit Rhea. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Give me an investigation check.
4.
Okay. You're not quite sure if it's your size. Maybe kind of close. But it looks pretty spectacular.
Rhea's gonna cry a little bit, just looking at it.
I mean, it might fit. You don't know.
That's not why she's crying.
It's a pretty spectacular dress. Yeah, I mean, this tailor shop seems to know its business. It's got some very nice stuff in here. Is there anything else? All right. So what do you guys do next?
Rhea's
the
gonna
ducks.
continue to cry and just look at this dress until someone stops her.
Oak will pick her up.
Okay.
And we'll head for the docks, I guess.
All right. Zord?
I'd follow Oak out the door to the docks.
Okay. So with your map in hand, you guys start heading towards the docks then. With sounds like Rhea being carried. And eventually you guys, after a good long trek, where you are actually walking along another main road that has a wall next to it on one side, and you pass this large gate that has several guards around it, and that gate is currently closed, and these guards look very well armed and armored, and you continue to follow along that wall until, which is, if you look on your map, that's basically that was this gate you just passed right there. And then you eventually come to another gate that is open with some guards, and as you walk through, you can now Oak, you can finally smell that seawater, that salty air.
It's
And
deep.
you can see a ways down from you as the land kind of slopes down towards it. There is the ocean out that way. So you eventually come down to the docks. Which, there we go. It should shift it. There you go. So you come down to the docks district. Which, where are you? Here we go. Which is basically kind of this whole area right in there, inside the circle. So anything outside that circle on the city is not considered the docks district. It is just that little, yep, right where you guys are, that's the docks. Okay, and it's quite large. Lots of warehouses, lots of other buildings, some like trading company offices are in that region. Uh, so tons of stuff. There's a shipyard facility down there. So quite a bit of things down in that region.
What I would want to do is track down the dock person and start asking if Finn's been seen recently.
Any particular person? You say like a dock person, or you're just saying like a worker, or
Yeah, just a random dock worker.
okay. Easy enough to find. They're pretty much all over. You see a fairly well muscled female half orc, uh, just carrying some crates from on the side of the docks up onto a a ship and back, and she walked back down. She grabs another and she carries it up onto a ship. And you approach her, and well, as you get closer, what do you say?
I'll be like, hey, do you know many people in this area?
She looks at kind of over at you and says, "Well, yeah, the other workers."
I'm trying to find a guy named Fen. Do you know him?
And no, can't say I know the name Fen. Um, hmm, sorry. Uh, kind of busy right now. You know, boxes.
All right, get back to work.
Yep. She turns,
And
picks
I'll
up another box, carries it up the ramp onto the ship, comes back down, grabs another, and you hear her kind of muttering, "Boxes, boxes, all day long. I carry the boxes. I sing this song. Boxes, boxes, all day long."
Are there any animals nearby, like gulls or cats or
Yeah,
something?
there are seagulls that are flying all over the place. Yeah, if you look around, uh, you can see seems to be a pelican down the way. You know,
Are there? Okay, Oak is gonna go near some of the animals, and he's gonna cast Speak with Animals on himself.
okay. So, what animal do you want to speak with?
Um, first he's gonna talk to the birds. He's gonna be like, "Have you seen? Um, does he remember what Fen looks like?"
Yeah, yeah, you would remember.
So he sees. He asks, "Have you seen a guy who looks with Fen's description
Okay. So,
around here?"
so what kind of bird are you trying to speak to start with? There's pretty much several different types of sea bird. You see seagulls. You see a pelican or two. You might see a couple, a couple like shore cranes. You know that kind of nip at the shallows and stuff like that. I mean,
He's
so
gonna talk to the pelicans first.
a pelican. Okay, so you find a pelican, and what do you say? So you describe, have you seen a person like this?
Yeah.
Okay. And hold on, I need to see how smart a pelican is.
Please let it be at least somewhat smart. If only we had a cat. Or a cat nearby.
I'm not even sure if they have pelican in the D&D books, but let's see here. Yeah, I'm not necessarily seeing a pelican, so I'm just gonna say in general. Let's just call it this. That's what I want right there. Okay, so it looks at you, kind of cocks its head a little bit, cocks it
Oh,
back,
does that too.
then lifts its head back and kind of it starts, doing that thing where it opens its mouth real wide and kind of chokes back, and you see it swallowing a fish that was just sitting in its pouch. It looks at, cocks its head again, looks at you, says, "Human,
I'm not a human.
human person,
No, I'm a shifter.
no, human person."
Possibly.
Says, "Yes, human person, here, here."
Did you see him recently?
Looks at you. Same moon,
Okay.
same moon.
We're playing charades with a pelican. 20 questions with a pelican. Okay. Oak calls back to Zoran. Hey, Zoran, I think I've got a lead.
Really?
Yeah, this pelican, I think he knows who Fen is.
You're trusting a bird.
I mean, more trustworthy than humans.
I'll give you that one. So what did the bird say?
That he saw someone who looked like Fen here, at least in the same moon. It might mean month